What was the worst way you saw someone ruin their life? My brother. Heroin addiction. He was always an odd kid, but a very talented guitar player, and one of the most thoughtful, caring, funny, and unique people I've ever known. He passed away 4 years ago from a fentanyl overdose. I miss him every day, but he brought so much joy to the lives of those around him that the memory of him isn't a sad one. I laugh way more than I cry when I think about him. A girl I crushed on super hard in high school started doing meth, and began sleeping with her dealer, who was a juggalo with a rapidly diminishing amount of teeth. Drunk buddy climbed into bed with his mother-in-law because she thought she was into him. She wasn't. Ended poorly. A friend of mine decided to date a guy substantially older than her, and became nothing more than an extension of his bum self. No identity, and no direction in life. She just goes wherever he goes. That guy on Reddit who decided to experiment with heroin one day and became a complete addict. My best friend had a bad breakup and lost his kids. Started doing meth, then had 2 car repossessions happen to him because he was using his money for drugs. I saw rock bottom happen in front of me. He's doing much better now. My cousin had 7 strokes because she wouldn't stop doing crack. Every time the doctors warned her and every time she did more crack. She hated life and had given up. One of my friends turned to alcohol and all but gave up on life after his mom passed. It eventually caught up with him and he passed away at the age of 32. The sad part is that there were signs that he wanted to get better and wanted to get life together again. It was just too little too late and he went about it the wrong way. Alcohol. Buddy of mine drank himself to a destroyed liver, ruined relationships with friends and his girlfriend of 4 years. What sucks is you wanna help, but even if you pour out their liquor or hang and don't drink around them, they'll never change unless they really have to drive to change. 2 buddies of mine have died from heroin overdoses. Both had kids. Another was high and nodding out at the wheel and drove into a family with 2 newborn babies. He's in prison now. It's a terrible drug that all addicts will inevitably die from. You don't see too many elderly heroin addicts. Alcohol. Childhood friend literally drank himself to death by age 31 from kidney and liver failure. He was offered a transplant but turned it down because he knew himself he wouldn't change and would drink again as soon as he could. R.I.P.'s a attack. I have a mirror next to my computer screen that I look at constantly whenever I play World of Warcraft so I can get a first row seat to my own downfall and decline. Friend wanted to be seen as someone that used drugs to be edgy. She was a great friend but she went from someone that used drugs at parties to a full-blown addict and F***ed up her life completely. Marriage. When it goes well, it's great, but marry the wrong person and they will fuck you IP so bad it will change who you are as a person. Source: there have been many divorces in my family, thankfully none of mine. It's made me extremely skeptical of the entire idea of marriage. Some guy people thought was smart bought Twitter and exposed how much of a moron he really is. I had a co-worker that was supposed to move in England to work at his sister's bar. He gave it up for a pyramid scheme and tried to get me in. I've watched 2 separate people lose all family, friends and even their children due to drug addiction. They wouldn't accept any form of help, or listen to anyone's input including their family. Really soul-crushing honestly. Marrying a man almost 20 years her senior and having a child with him that he doesn't help take care of. Guy I knew in high school had 3 daughters. Had a pretty normal life, he was a alright dad. Nothing special. Went to hang out with a friend one day, left his baby in the car with the A/C on thinking everything would be fine if it was left on for her while he went inside for an hour. It was in the summer in Arizona. Yeah. He's in prison now for second-degree murder. Guy from my high school was suicidal, drove into oncoming traffic and killed a mom and 2 kids but he survived. Convicted and off to prison, barbecued life and living with that, pretty horrible. My nana gave up smoking and instead turned to heavy drinking. Within 2 years she destroyed her brain and was in a home with very little control over her body or memory. Watching a close friend slowly push everyone away, and it's looking like they may have just sexually assaulted their partner. Found myself all up in the crossfire of whatever is happening there. 19 Why our old cousin. Started hanging with gangs, introduced to meth, then back into prostitution, had done it previously when she was homeless, and gained a gambling habit also, faked pregnancy and stole from family and made it look like others were involved, which irreparable trust was broken between innocent parties that some have never recovered from. My mum sent all of her pension to Nigerian princes, South African Bitcoin miners and lonely oil rig workers who didn't have enough funds to release an inheritance. I really wish I was joking. Having more than one kid before they're ready. They have no money, no hope to save any, still living with parents or in shitty rundown houses, constantly worrying about paying bills and becoming homeless, etc. Especially bad when they don't have vehicles. Took LSD. A lot of it. Said he saw his face melt in a mirror. Complete personality change. 1 minute he was there. Smiling, laughing, funny. The next time. Internally preoccupied. Did not look you in the eye when speaking, which he did before. He left school suddenly. End of story. Never heard of him again. An ex-classmate of mine contracted HIV and syphilis sleeping around and refuses to get medicated for either. That's what happens when you do nothing but have unprotected sex with any girl that looks at you for more than 3 seconds. Everybody told him to relax or use protection, but he couldn't keep it in his pants. My ex destroyed our lives and his life all the same time, and we all ended up homeless. Crystal meth sucks. He's back at rehab 12 years later. He's a good person, just really broken. He looks great and is super fit and good at what he does. It makes 0 sense. I own my own home and am about to become a stay-at-home housewife, thankfully. Dated the wrong guy. I feel like he held her back, and she could have been so much farther in life and so forth. Now LT appears she's playing catch-up. My everyday work involves people who have completely given themselves up to addictions, mostly opioids, amphetamines, and alcohol. It's amazing the deprivation people are willing to endure for their fix. Has convinced me to avoid any prescription painkillers at all costs. On Wednesday, December 21, 2022, my best friend was stabbed to death by his own brother. I'll post the news story another day. I'm just trying to heal. This guy had a lot of money and was considered a really visionary businessman, and then the poor fucker got obsessed with social media and overpaid to a cartoonish degree for an app where people yell stupid shit all day long and proceeded to implode in public. A friend of mine decided to not use protection with a girl he'd just met, for a whole weekend, without asking if she was using any contraception at all, and finishing inside. I often feel really bad for this poor baby dragged into this world out of sheer stupidity. Meth. Family member lost his house, wife, daughter, everything. He lives in a tent with other drug addicts.